Well, good morning, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So happy that you could join us on our last uh, session of the May Self-Care series. My name is Amber Letcher, and I am the 4-H Youth Development Specialist for SCSU Extension. And last week, I talked about some nature-based mindfulness activities that you can do to help manage stress, especially because the weather's getting nicer outside. And so there were some options there for you to do things outside. If you missed it, you should have received a link to the video and you can watch that when time allows. Today, I'm very excited. Lynda Pierce will be discussing how to organize your space for productivity. But before I introduce Lynda, we'd like to get to know you a little bit better. So if you could, please put your name and also any plans you have for this long holiday weekend into the chat. And as you do that, I will introduce our speaker for today. Lynda Pierce is the owner and designer of Lily Design, and she's based in Brookings. Lynda grew up in Brookings, and she lives on an acreage with her husband and 2 children. And she recently started Lily Design, her own design company, and she enjoys helping others transform spaces in which they work and live. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to type those into the chat box. Let's get started. Lynda, I'm going to turn the session over to you.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank Amber for inviting me to do this. We were just joking before going live that it's kind of funny that the day you have to give an organization talk is the day you feel the least organized. So this will be fun. But yes, a little bit about what I do. So I do residential and small commercial design. Really my design philosophy, and you'll see this all the way through my presentation, is really about making sure that spaces are functional first, and then we can work on making them beautiful and attractive in places we want to spend our time in. But really my main focus for design is always function comes before beauty, and beauty will always follow. So this presentation really is about the first steps of creating an organized life. And so we'll walk through that. But anybody that has questions during the presentation, absolutely put the questions in the chat, and we can address those as they come. So really the topic, let's see here, really the topic of my talk really was living your best organized life, because organization, like anything, isn't just kind of a flip the light switch on process, but you have to think about initially, why do you want to become organized? Kind of like when, why do you want to lose weight, or right, everybody has to have their why. So a couple of things that I've listed down here is kind of some benefits of why you would strive to be a more organized person. So, these might come as no surprise to you, but really the first one is decreased stress. Less stress, less clutter equals less stress. And clutter equals chaos. So if we're trying to control the chaos in our life, just being more organized then reduces our stress, and it clears up space in our brain for clear thinking. So that kind of avoids kind of this chaos in our mind of thinking that, we have to do everything all the time, and just kind of being a little bit more organized creates that stress in our life. And then the next thing would be for better sleep. If you are less stressed, you have time within or space within your brain and space within your day to develop better sleep habits. So form a nightly routine that promotes good sleep, and good sleep equals a rested person, and rested person equals more energy, which then goes back into your day. The next one would be increased me time. Obviously, if you are more organized and you prioritize the things that you need to get done, that allows more time within your day to kind of plug in those things that you've always wanted to do. Um, so, the thing is, like, a little bit of decluttering over time, or a little bit of organization over time, leads to um, more spontaneity. If you want to go do something, that's great. You don't have to spend 3 days organizing or decluttering your house before company comes over. It kind of snowballs that way. And then health and well-being. Stress creates health problems. It's proven. Stress can create depression, anxiety, and heart problems, high blood pressure. So these are all good things of why we would want to be more organized. And then also, clean living, which kind of comes from being organized, reduces dust and allergens within the spaces that you live in as well. The next one is productivity. So multitasking, it's proven that multitasking is a very inefficient way to go about your days. It's proven that it doesn't work to get two things done at once. To focus on one thing and move on to the next is the most efficient thing that you can do. So some people say, oh, I'm really good at multitasking. Probably not. So, spend the productivity increases when you spend less time searching for things that you're looking for, and using a calendar to keep your tasks moving forward are good ways to increase your productivity. And then the next one is money. If you know where you have things that you need, if you're organized within your space, you won't end up having 5 rolls of tape, because every time you need a roll of tape you don't know where it's at. So that inherently saves you money. And then once you organize and declutter your spaces, um, you can avoid buying duplicate items. You can also sell the items that you don't need and don't want to store anymore, so that could also make you money. And then before buying an item, after you declutter a space, before you buy an item, you know, be more intentional about your purchasing. So when you want to purchase something from the store, really honestly ask yourself, is this something that I really need? Where will it be stored? And how often will it be used? So that helps to avoid impulse buying as well. So just a little tidbit on how you can actually save money in your budget by becoming organized. And then the last one is self-confidence. So if you feel like you have control of your life, and your things versus your things and your life having control over you, you have a greater sense of self. So less stress, increased productivity leads to increased self-confidence. So if you can live an organized life, what can't you do, right? And so that's kind of the goal, is to kind of be more self-aware and have more self-confidence by saying, yep, I got my stuff together, I'm organized, I'm systematic in how I live my life and spend my time. And that will be seen in all of the other things, all of the other aspects of your life. So how do we even get started? So I'd like to say that there is an easy button for things in life, and some things are, but unfortunately, this one is not. Kind of like weight loss and becoming wealthy, it's slow and steady, like the tortoise wins the race. So being more organized really starts with lifestyle and habit changes. So creating a routine, having a positive attitude goes a long way. Don't procrastinate, and giving everything a home. So these small habit changes over time create an organized life, because I can't just say everything is, yep, everything is organized. Because it really is kind of a lifestyle that you have to get yourself into. Am I going to be an organized person, or am I not going to be an organized person? It's kind of a lifestyle that you buy into. The next thing that I found in my personal and professional life is really taking control of your daily and weekly calendar. So this is huge in how you spend your time. Do you decide how and where you spend your time, or do you let um, just kind of the nature of the day decide how and when and why you do things? Um, so creating those weekly and daily calendars and then reviewing them in the morning before you really get your day started, maybe over a cup of coffee and some breakfast, saying, yep, okay, the first thing I need to do today is this, this, and this. And that would be, integrating your personal and professional calendar. So if you're working outside of the home, or even if you're working from home these days, as you can tell, I was had to take over my daughter's bedroom as my home office. We had to resituate quickly when COVID hit. So taking control of your daily and weekly calendar wherever you are, blocking off portions of your day for things. If you decide Mondays, I'm going to do this before or after work, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, so you do like little chunks at a time. That really allows you to have the freedom within your day to, free up those brain waves. You don't even have to think about, what am I doing this evening? What am I doing tomorrow? It's already decided, it's already written down. Obviously, you can't control everything in your life, but having those controllables already known is huge. And then I think we've already touched on this, but really creating a organized life is slow and consistent. So it's something that you can never say you've arrived, right? It's always constant improvement and constant changing. If you live with small humans, your organized life looks a lot different than if you are living with teenagers, or if your kids are older and moved out of your home. Being organized and living that lifestyle really changes over time. But it's really slow and consistent changes, and that habits are formed slowly. So give yourself some grace as you start implementing some changes into your life. Start slowly and have these little wins along the way. So let's see here. Next slide. So I really wanted to touch on a few just tips and tricks for the two areas in my world, and maybe in yours too, that are spaces that get the most work, the spaces that have the most things, and just wanted to talk over those spaces. So in a mudroom, don't overthink this space. Keep it simple. How do you use that space, right? So again, it evolves over time. If you are a mom or a dad to small humans, they tend to have a lot of tiny things. So how does this space work for you at that moment in time? And then once they get into school, all the backpacks and the snow boots and all the things. And then as they get into teenage years and they have the sports things and, all of those things. So then it evolves over time. And also think about the climate in which we live. So we live in a climate where we experience all 4 seasons. So if you're looking for ideas on how to organize your mudroom, make sure it's applicable to our region, where we have all those 4 seasons, where you have the mud and you have the snow and you have the moisture coming into your entryway. Having things that on your floor and where you set your shoes that are susceptible to moisture probably wouldn't be a good solution for our climate. So one thing that I've always struggled with is shoes. They tend to be everywhere. So one thing that I've implemented with my family is that I only store 1 to 2 pairs of shoes per person within this space. Because typically, everybody has that 1 to 2 pairs that they wear consistently within that season. And then everything else is occasional. So if you have nice shoes that you go, um, go to church or go out to eat or do something like that, or those occasional footwear, maybe if you have snow boots and it's summer outside, get those out of that space. So 1 to 2 pairs for each person within the space can really control the chaos. And then coats, if possible, have only the seasonal jacket needed on a coat hook or something easy to access. And keep all the other coats, behind a door, maybe in a closet or a separate location. So if you have like a storage room in your basement, put a coat hook up there. So in the summertime, when you don't need your winter stuff, you store it all down there. And then when it starts to get cooler, and then you can kind of rotate. So keeping everything in that space for all 4 seasons tends to be a lot. So when I design a space for a client, I usually talk about that. Like, okay, this space isn't for everything all the time. Let's create another closet somewhere else for those other items. And then organize. So have a combination of storage solutions that include open and closed shelving. Closed storage, so too many items hanging on a wall, or if you have too many things just on open shelving and you have like 25 baskets and they're all beautifully organized, it still looks like 25 baskets on your wall. So if you have, like in this picture, just like 3 or 4 baskets, where it's quick stuff to grab, maybe, a baseball and a glove, or mittens or hats or whatever that would be. And then the rest is behind a closed door. So that combination of open and closed tends to help make things appear more organized, and you don't have to kind of see everything all the time. And then cleanability, obviously you want to choose things that are cleanable. So if you have a lot of kids and you live out in the country like I do, you probably don't want to have a bunch of white things in your mudroom with dirty hands and gravel and dogs and all that stuff. You want something that's easily wipeable. Think about the flooring. If you like tile floor, think about a larger tile so you have less grout lines. Also like a smooth tile, so something that's easily cleanable, that's not going to collect all that dust and dirt and grime. You don't have to get down on your hands and knees. Something that's really easy to kind of quickly clean in a hurry if you need to. So the next space in my house that I use a lot is my home office. I could probably do an entire presentation on kitchens just because they're such a highly used area and they have a lot of different functions. So we could probably do a whole presentation on kitchens. So, but home offices are kind of one of those things where people maybe didn't have as a necessity pre-COVID, and now it's definitely a necessity. Like me, thankfully we finished our basement in time, and so our daughter moved down to the basement bedroom and I commandeered her bedroom for my home office. And a lot of people didn't have that as an option. But if you do have that as an option and you have a separate space, it's good that that space is organized so you can be productive throughout your day. So one thing that you can do is really purge your paper. So on your weekly calendar, every week schedule in time to sort, shred, toss, file, or do something with your paper, right? So I usually take like my Friday mornings or my Friday afternoons, just after a whole week, you just take that hour and you just sort, because things tend to pile up. You may not sort things as you need when you need to. And so taking that hour to just kind of clear things up before the weekend is always a great feeling. And then setting up a filing system. So I can give you a lot of different options, but really a filing system only works if it works for you. So if you're totally type A and you want to tab everything and have a bunch of different categories and color code things and, just have everything really pristine, um, perfect. That works for you. But if you're more of a free spirit, but you really just kind of want to file things, maybe professional, personal, and then a breakdown a few different categories, that's perfect too. Really, you're not going to file unless it's your system and it works for you. So setting up a filing system, setting up some way that it's easy enough to access that you actually will file those papers. Um, just think about how you work and function throughout the day. And then separate personal work from professional work. So if you are working from home, try to separate those personal papers, bills, things that come in from your work items. That will allow you to kind of keep them separate, not lose anything. And also creating a mail station to help sort out some of those things before they pile up is always a good thing. Using containers for small office items. So there's always those rubber bands, those thumbtacks, the binder clips, the paper clips, the highlighters, the staple, or everything like that. So if you have somewhere to tuck it away into a drawer, use these little containers, and it doesn't have to be, you know, big and expensive. It literally could just be the little, plastic disposable Ziploc containers, whatever works for you and whatever you have access to at the time, just to keep them separated. So and you can see, oh, I'm running low on staples versus I'm not really sure how many staples I have left. You can kind of assess that and say, now I need to go to the store and get more staples versus, waiting till you completely run out and then you have none. So just kind of keep those in little containers and tucked away. And then the last thing, keep it fun. Make sure that if it's a space you spend a lot of time in, keep it, make it a space that's a reflection of you. So right now, my main goal for the summer is to redo my office so it doesn't look like my daughter's bedroom when she was 8 years old. I need it to be my space. I need it to be something that's a reflection of me, and where I want to spend my time in. So some of the ideas is keep it light, keep it bright, bring in personal touches that, like pictures of your family or travels that you've been to, what's your passion, and then also bring in that greenery. So it's proven that humans react positively and get more energy when they are connected to nature. So if you have a couple house plants laying around, put them within that space, and that'll automatically just warm it up, make it feel more inviting, and make sure you have good lighting in your room as well, and just to make it comfortable. So ergonomics too is huge. Make sure you have a chair that you like to sit in. That'll just give you more energy, and that if you have a space that you like, you tend to want to keep it clean. That's how I work. If I have a space that I really like and enjoy and it's designed well, it's something that I am more apt to keep clean. So just as a quick recap, I probably went through this really fast, but as a quick recap, just keep in mind being organized as a marathon, not a sprint. This is like the most famous saying of 2020, but it rings true for a lot of things. So it's really not just quick, hurry up, get it done. Living an organized life is really a way of life, not just a task that you complete. Taking control of your daily and weekly calendar is huge on a lot of different aspects, but especially on just keeping your space that you live in and your life organized. Create goals that give you consistent wins. So each week, write down a goal that you want to accomplish in being organized. So don't just tear apart your entire house and say, I'm going to organize this house, because that's a huge challenge and probably will end in epic failure because it's just so much. So say this week, I'm going to find a home for everything that's living in my living room that's not supposed to be there, right? And then the next week, I'm going to find a home for everything in my dining room that's not supposed to be there. So giving yourself consistent little wins is huge. And again, thanks for inviting me to present on this topic. I have, this is one of my passions, is to help people create spaces in their homes that they really enjoy, and seeing how it can transform their lives from something that may be chaotic and some place that they may not want to be, to places that they really enjoy and can thrive in. So that's really my kind of mission for Lily Design when I started it. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. Also, if you want additional tips or tricks, my email is on the bottom of the screen too. Take note of that. Reach out to me. I'm always happy to have a conversation about how to get started, and what would it take for your home and your space to become organized.
Thank you so much, Lynda. That was great. I really appreciated your tips on shoes, because that is a never-ending battle at my own home. So I'm going to try that tip for sure. We do have a few minutes. If there are questions, feel free to type those into the chat box. We're happy to take those. I'm also going to drop Lynda's email into the chat, just so you have access to that. I saw quite a few great plans for the weekend: camping, wedding prep, graduations. That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, busy time of year. People are like getting out. We're thawing out from the winter. It's going to be fabulous.
Yes, yes. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Lots of thank yous to you, Lynda, and definitely we appreciate that as well. This is our last session for May. We'll start up again in August. So I also want to give everyone a reminder that we are also happy to take feedback. If you have session ideas that would really help you thinking about, the future and into August, please send those along to any of us, and we will do our best to work those into our next series. But other than that, have a wonderful weekend. Happy Friday, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.